Hello, everyone. It's Brian here with sort of recent finds. I have 6 records to show. 3 are truly recent finds in the last couple of weeks, I guess, and the other 3 are records that never made it into a recent finds video recently. If that makes sense, they kind of got pushed aside, and I'm going to include them here. So let's start with this one. This is the Black Keys, Ohio Players, which has a very obvious bowling theme going on here. In fact, on the back we have smelly bowling shoes and bowling balls. This came out in 2024 and it was their 12th full length, I believe. Now, normally I would buy, well, I guess history tells me that when a Black Keys record comes out, usually I get it, if not right away, within the first month or so. But this one I didn't, and partly the reason for that is of a review I'm going to mention in a moment. So I didn't get this right away. However, sometimes it does pay to wait because you might be able to see that this was sale price marked down to $20 in a store I sometimes go to. This probably was in the range of $30 to $40 when it was released here, so that's a deal. The record itself is in this polyline sleeve with the bowling theme continued, and it comes with this rather cool insert. Again, continuing this bowling theme with lots of credits. And Patrick and Dan in their bowling attire. Did make me wonder if they were real bowling fans or if this is just something they did for the album. Now, the credits are quite interesting too because I did not know the extent of the collaborations on this. So Beck features in maybe half the tracks as either someone who's playing music instruments or someone who's co-written. There's other co-writers here too, including Noel Gallagher, who co-wrote a couple songs. Other people are mentioned. There's a cover version of I Forgot to Be Your Lover, which is William Bell and Booker T. Jones. Of course, that was a song that Billy Idol covered at one point too. So the other thing that occurs to me when I was looking at this was just the trajectory the band has taken, because you probably know that in the early days it was just guitar and drums. But here you've got, on this one track, Beautiful People, as an example, you have all of those instruments plus 808, claps, piano, Wurlitzer, trombone, tenor sax, baritone sax, claps again, bongo, shaker, bells. Another track has cowbell, clapstick. You've got Moog synthesizers, cymbals, wind chimes. So it's a really strings on one track too. So it's a bit of a different approach to music. So I read a almost monthly publication in Toronto called Exclaim, and I have mentioned it before. I did a video about that magazine, and when this album came out, this publication awarded that album 4 out of 10 in their review. And so I guess I took their word for it because, generally I understand the reviews and I sort of accept them as correct usually. Except for one case, there's a review they wrote in 1996. I'm still holding a grudge against them because it was absolutely appalling, and someday I may talk about that. But I'm going to read you a couple of sections from this review that they published last year. So, and again, they give it 4 out of 10. Opening track, This Is Nowhere, is their worst start in recent memory. An aptly named, nebulous dirge that heralds their new direction, whatever it is. It's pop rock sludge and void of identity, a sing-along in concept only. Sanded away are any semblance of edge that even 2022's Dropout Boogie recalled. The Black Keys are riding more street legal than ever. Beck's perky influence is felt throughout, co-writing half the tracks and playing multiple instruments throughout. What's most disappointing here is the vague promise of some genuine funk, given the album title's allusion to the soul royalty group of the same name. Ohio Players skews closer to mid-career Maroon 5 than Funky Worm or anything on Beck's excellent Midnight Vultures. That's pretty scathing, but check this out. Don't Let Me Go is just like a Beck B-side, full of sound and fury and half-baked before something else caught his attention. Lead single Beautiful People Stay High is the exact kind of product the Keys' biggest detractors will savor. Too stupid to be blithe and already fading in memory. Finally, one more section to give you the full flavor. Applauding growth of an act is one thing, but this is at best a stumbling lateral move Things have been rearranged, but the song remains the same, and it's beginning to grate. Any more intrepidness from the Black Keys is to be feared. It's the worst kind of overstimulation, stemming from too many cooks in the kitchen, or perhaps too many keys in the bathroom stall. I'm not sure I can keep hanging with these guys anymore. Brutal. So that's a brutal takedown of that record. And I've only heard it once now, and I would say that record review is a little... It takes things a little too far. It may not be the best Black Keys record, but there's no way it's a 4 out of 10 after one listen. So I think they missed the boat on that one. Okay, second record. Believe it or not, I've never owned until now a copy of Fragile from Yes. I do have Yes records. I do have Yes CDs. But this one I never owned for two reasons, probably. I was thinking about this. Like, part of it is probably because the track Roundabout, I have heard maybe, 5,000 times. It got played on the radio a lot. Secondly, every time I saw a copy of this record, it was really beat up or very expensive. So I did find this. I can't remember the price on this. And I lucked out on both. It's in good shape, and it was a good price. So this is from 1971, but I believe it was released in North America in 1972. And the funny thing is, although I knew Roundabout a little too well, the rest of the songs I don't think I'd heard before. So it's kind of like hearing new music 50 years later, which is kind of funny. And it's on these Atlantic labels. So yeah, I was happy to get that after all of these years. I'm not like the world's biggest Yes fan, but I do like much of their music. Number 3, also from 1972, is Harry Nilsson's Son of Schmilsson, with this really cool, I've always loved this record cover, although I didn't own it till now. I've seen it before. He's looking really vampiric or Dracula-like. The funny thing is, there's this statement here that says, donate to your local blood bank, which I find quite amusing. This is the Best Buy series. As you can see, it's Canadian pressing, not a gatefold, so it just has one pocket. Recorded at Trident Studios, London, March 72. Now, there's quite a few well-known musicians on here. There's George Harrison, who's credited as George Harry's Song. We've got Nicky Hopkins, Peter Frampton, Bobby Keys, Jim Price, Klaus Vormann, etc. There's a Ray Cooper, a bunch of people I've never heard of before. Chris Spedding, right, is on here as well. This is pretty good. I only have, I think, 3 of his records now, and I really like whatever he's done. He's got a great voice, and production-wise, it's very interesting to me. I think you'd call it pop, though, at the end of the day. I think the single here was Spaceman, which is, I had forgotten about that song, but when I heard it, I instantly recognized it. You're Breaking My Heart, I think, is another one that I heard many times. Produced by Richard Perry. A pretty good record, and it comes on these... RCA labels right there, so that's pretty cool. Next is something from 2008. It is Mudcrutch Live Extended Play, or EP, from Mudcrutch, the Tom Petty band that was resurrected later in his career. This is a live recording from, I guess, 2 tracks from Ventura, California, and 2 tracks from Hollywood in 2008. Side A has 3 tracks. Side 2 has that long 15-minute track, Crystal River. And on the side A, we have The Wrong Thing to Do, Bootleg Flyer, and High School Confidential. Pretty interesting release. Now, when I added this to Discogs, I discovered 2 things. One is that some copies of this contained a CD, which mine was lacking, but it was a used copy, so maybe I just assumed it had gone missing. But some people have said they didn't have a CD in theirs, and then there's some question of what was on the CD. Was it these tracks again, or was it the first record? Who knows? The other thing I discovered is that I paid around $10 for this, and resale value now is around $80, which I think is outrageous, but made me happy to have purchased it. So I'm Reprise right there. So really good shape, though. It looks like someone has played it, obviously, more than once, but it's in good shape. VG Plus, I would say. Next, we have a tribute album to one of my favorite bands, and that is The Smiths. So this is England Is Mine, a tribute to The Smiths. Limited edition, only 500 made, magenta vinyl. So every time I see something like that, I wonder if they mean there's only 500 magenta ones, and they might next month put out 500 blue ones, or if it means there's only 500 of these in total. Who knows? Very Smiths-like cover, which I think is kind of cool. I like that. So there are 12 tracks on here. And you might think that this is a soundtrack to the movie England Is Mine, but it's not. But weirdly, In the album, they include this poster for England Is Mine, right here, which is strange, on Becoming Morrissey. The soundtrack for this album, or this movie, is quite different. Of course, it has things that are not from the Smiths, but things that were influential. For example, New York Dolls, Lonely Planet Boys is on there. So 12 tracks. Let me just pull out the vinyl here. Some dude. And we can see this magenta vinyl here, which is quite eye-catching. And I would say overall, the songs in here are quite good and very engaging, with maybe one exception. So it starts out with Hillbilly Moon Explosion and the Brains doing How Soon Is Now. By the way, most of these artists, except for a handful I'd never heard of before, I don't know who that group is. Bow Wow Wow, of course I do know, doing I Started Something I Couldn't Finish. I love that version, it's really good. Gene Loves Jezebel doing Ask. The next track is probably the low point. Tiffany doing Panic. Yeah, I could live without that. Raised in Black, There Is a Light That Never Goes Out. And then the band called This Charming Band. So clearly they took their name from the Smiths track, This Charming Man. I don't know anything about them, and they do a track called Hand in Glove, the band's first single. Now, I don't know who the singer is here, but this is the first case on the record of someone just mimicking Morrissey, doing the best Smiths karaoke version you can imagine. So it does try to sound like the Smiths. Then we have G.W. Childs doing The Boy with a Thorn in His Side. Very cool. Another band that has their name taken from a Smiths track, so Sweet and Tender Hooligans from the track Sweet and Tender Hooligan, doing Heaven Knows I'm Miserable Now. And again, that is almost like Smiths karaoke. They try to replicate the song note for note, and the guy tries to sound like Morrissey, which I can see that. I can see what they're doing, but I'm not sure it works. We've got Versailles doing What Difference Does It Make? David Glass doing This Charming Man. Eva O and DJ Eric III doing Big Mouth Strikes Again. And finally, Orland Dizzy and Unwoman doing Last Night I Dreamt That Somebody Loved Me. And again, that's one of those tracks that, again, it just sounds like they're trying to be the Smiths. So, interesting album. I actually quite like it, with one exception. It's very pleasant. I would recommend it if you're a Smiths fan. And finally, the last thing I'll talk about today is something I had streamed for a while because it came recommended from everyone's friend Ben Rankins in Melbourne. And that is the Triffids, Born Sandy devotional. On his recommendation, I had streamed some of these tracks. In fact, I streamed the whole thing and came back to it a few times and decided it's something I would like to own. But no one in Toronto seems to... I've tried everywhere. No one has this record. I suppose I could order it. This is from 1986 originally, by the way, but that would be expensive. So I had a price watch on Amazon. You know, normally I like to shop at my local record stores, of course. But you see this is limited edition yellow vinyl. So one day I got this alert from Amazon telling me that this was reduced from around $35 to $17, I think $17.50. I think it was half price. So I immediately placed an order. Came the next day. And as soon as I took it out of the sleeve, I was sure it was warped, and of course I put it on, and definitely it was warped. And I was like, oh, now I'm going to send it back. So here's the notes. The band members, including David McComb, who died about 25 years ago, I guess. So I went to the Amazon website, as you do when you get a defective product, and went through the process of returning it. And I was informed by the system that a replacement would cost $35, so it wouldn't be half price. So I had to go in the queue for chat with a representative, and that person said they would send me an identical thing and I wouldn't have to pay any extra. So that one came, and it's fine. It's flat. It plays well. And I will say that this is an excellent record. You know, you can't always trust what Ben says, but in this case, I'm happy to have listened to him because I think this is a tremendously good record. It's their second. I'm keeping my eyes open for other records from this band, but they're difficult to find. I don't think I've ever seen a record from the Triffids in a record store in Toronto. So I'm quite happy to get this. I really enjoy it. It's a classic. It's something you should hear. And that's it for today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.